I'm Dr. Johnny G. Chavez III. I'm the CEO and founder of Voices of Change, LLC. I'll be facilitating the talking circles to discuss solutions and some of the problems that actually incur around racial and racial healing. I'm really excited about today because it's an opportunity to us to use a variety of cultural methods to bring out discussion in a very safe and healthy environment, and really be open and being able to share our experiences to find strategies to make a difference for our children. Take some time and get with your neighbors, get with your community, get involved, and that's what makes a difference and what will really bring about true change.
My name's Andy Hammonds. I'm the Program Community Development Director at Integrative Touch Healing Center, and I'm honored to be here to help support with the youth portion of the National Day of Racial Healing here at the YWCA of Southern Arizona. My role here today is to just make sure that we can create a safe space so that people can be brave, that they can have healthy conversation and respectful dialogue, so we can hear other people's voices, learn from people who are different from us, and also feel safe and brave enough to speak out and share our own truth. My only expectation is that we're able to listen and we're able to be non-defensive so that we can challenge ourselves to take care of ourselves and allow other people to take care of themselves and make space for others who may be more inclined to stay back. And those of us who are inclined to step forward, challenge ourselves to step back so they can step forward.
I am Conrad Bellinger, founder of Human Impact Productions. And I'm very excited to be part of this whole event today. I'm really hoping that people that are here are able to feel comfortable to work together, to really step out of the box a little bit, especially in today's time of people coming together and not just the idea of unity, but the actual action of it. You know, it's really easy for us in our culture to be in our boxes.
So that we use our screens for good, but then make sure that we're connecting with human beings.
And so it's time to step out and actually be part of our culture, to be able to have a sustainable culture that we want, that really represents this tapestry in our country of amazing people from all over the world. Maybe some of these ideas can come from these young people. You know, being able to hear the young people, their voices, because they make up the foundation of our future. They are our future. And so often they're not invited to these kinds of events. And so to have them here is absolutely amazing. My parting words are, let's step outside the house.
Make sure you get to know your neighbors.
And let's start to connect more with people, and not just people who agree with us, people who disagree, and have a really wonderful discourse in our community.
Thank you all for being here. This is our third National Day of Racial Healing that we're doing in person. The League of Women Voters conducted one virtually, and we're happy to have you here and thrilled that so many people have turned out. I am the program manager for the Dr. Laura Banks Reed Center for Gender and Racial Equity. When you walked into this building, hopefully you all paid respect to Dr. Laura Banks Reed. That mural signifies her. It signifies the Tucson community. It signifies the YWCA. And we're proud to have that mural displayed, and we try to live up to that every day with programs that we do, activities that we do, and we are thrilled and honored to have the name of Dr. Laura Banks Reed instilled in us. So welcome and thank you for being here today. I will introduce Mr. Bruce Donahue, who will conduct a blessing today. Bruce.
Hello. Good morning. Skuktash. Anya up Jurgi Bruce Donahue. Anya up Chukut Cook Amajit. My name is Bruce Donahue, and I come from a village they call Where the Owl Hoots down in the Miguel community. So if you will please rise if you're able to. I'm going to ask that you kindly ask that we go ahead and stand. Give us the humility that is required to have these powerful discussions and furthermore make that change. Thank you for all the blessings of being with us together on this day, reminding us that one voice can make a difference, but together as a whole we will be here in solidarity to the goals that we've planned, direction that we planned, everything, the heart healing stuff. Everything you put into us, reminding us that we need to continue to learn in this life, continually important. Thank you for all the blessings, the teachings, and the understandings, and if possible, that wisdom that comes from the life that you lived. Thank you for sharing it. It is of people that are disrespectful and always remind us that this is a learning process. Remind us that we will continue to learn, and at one point, if we don't learn those things, then we'll be lost. The stories, the traditions, the cultures, the language. Thank you. Thank you for that. Thank you. To that self-direction, lead the children. Use that self-direction of the children. Remind them that they are teachers. Remind us to act in a way that is responsible because they take on characteristics that put us as people. Remind them that without the innocence that they share with us, the innocence and all of that, it's really kind of hard or difficult to continue to go in a positive direction. So let's be that example for those children. Remind those children that they are safe and that they can be with us in any direction. They can be with us, and at one point in time it'll be their responsibility to carry this language, carry this culture, carry this ceremony. Children. That's on their trip home, help them keep some of this information home, remind their children, their grandchildren, and their great-grandchildren. It's very important. Creator above, the direction of now. Thank you, Creator, for today's healing, today's blessing. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you again. I want to also thank the MacArthur Foundation because none of this would be possible if not for the Safety and Justice program through the MacArthur Foundation that has assisted us with funding, and also Justice Services, who's also represented here today by Doyle Morrison. Again, thank the MacArthur Foundation and Justice Services, and our partner also, Pillars and Bridges. I next want to introduce a person we're honored to have here today, who served as our facilitator last year. It's Dr. Cherie Meeks of the NAACP. Thank you, Dr. Meeks, for being present. Thank you.
Thank you so much. All right, good morning. How we doing? All right, I feel the energy. I love it. It is a blessing to be here with you this afternoon. I am so very excited that you all are here, and we are looking forward to this opportunity to talk about racial healing. Is that what we all came here to do? Yeah. All right, so today is a very special day. This is part of a national effort to really think about the way that we engage with healing, and in particular, we're looking at racial healing. So this is happening in communities across the country. It is often celebrated on the day after Dr. Martin Luther King, the holiday. So on January 20th, you may hear in other communities that they are celebrating on that particular day. But we are so blessed and grateful that we chose to do this today. today because look how full this room is. We never know what to anticipate, but I'm so glad. And I'm just going to tell the truth. I think we got it wrong because we weren't expecting this many folks. So good job to you all. So please be patient with us. You'll know what I'm talking about later. All right, so it was January 18th, 2022, in the midst of COVID, that Donna Prescott, Miss Donna Prescott, I don't even know where you are. I need you to stand up, if you can, please. We are here in this community today celebrating because of this amazing community leader and change maker, and so I want to say thank you to you for getting this going and making sure that we continue it today. But she inspired community organizers in Tucson to celebrate its first National Day of Racial Healing. Attendees all over the city watched the video presentation by the Kellogg Foundation, you can find that online, and followed with the group discussion. This day provided space for people to acknowledge and see the humanity in others, to facilitate trust, and to build authentic relationships that begin to bridge divides. That's what we are going to do today. So you may have walked in and perhaps you didn't know anyone, or maybe you saw someone and darn, the chair next to them was already full. So you had to make a new friend. That's what we want to encourage you to do, because part of this process for racial healing means we need to put ourselves in positions that may make us a little uncomfortable. We should encourage ourselves, inspire, stand tall, do whatever you got to say to yourself to make yourself feel confident, and perhaps asking a question or saying something that you might just get it wrong. Because how will you know that unless you say it, unless you do it, unless you present it to someone for them to politely and kindly, because that's what we're going to do today in this room, give feedback and to share with one another how we can have these great conversations. So we understand with racial healing, we all have backgrounds, we all have experiences that are not the same. And so part of this process really involves us being willing to share our stories, to tell about who we are and where we came from. Because if we don't understand one another, if we aren't giving one another grace, there's no way to heal. And so we have to put ourselves in these positions to listen to one another. And so storytelling is incredibly important as we think about who we are, how we share ourselves with the world, how we share ourselves in spaces such as this. So I'm really grateful for you all to be here. I went on a tangent there. I was supposed to just introduce the video. So, but I also want to say, I know the time. I want to say we have these great notebooks. So please, if you didn't get one, make sure you get one, because I'm really hopeful that you will take notes in this, and you will exchange, email addresses and things like that, so you can continue the building after today. I think I said this last year that I didn't want that to be the last time that I saw folks who were in the room. And so I'll say that to you again today. Make sure that it's not 2027 until we see one another again, or until we engage in these conversations, because the organizations and the groups that are here and that are represented are doing things all year long. So let's make sure that we're supporting one another. Okay, now to what I'm supposed to be doing. I am here this afternoon, it's not morning, to introduce you to an amazing TED Talk that was presented by Dr. Gail Christopher, and she talks about racial healing, and she does it in a very creative and inspiring way. So please sit back for the next 13 minutes and enjoy the TED Talk, RX, or Prescription Racial Healing.
Hello. Are there any grandparents in the house? All right. Then you know that we have a very special secret that we just can't keep to ourselves. Becoming a grandparent is one of life's sweetest blessings. About a year ago, my first grandchild was born, and I was right there in the hospital. I couldn't be in the delivery room, but as soon as the baby was born and the mother was okay, my son-in-law came out to get me, to bring me in, and he assured me that everything was fine. He said, "But I have to prepare you." And I was like, "Oh, prepare me?" He said, "Yes, he's very pink." Well, my grandson was it's an interracial marriage, and my son-in-law was part of an interracial marriage. But somehow we had convinced ourselves that this new baby was going to be this little brown baby. And we weren't ready for the pink baby, right? So at least that's what he thought. And so I went in and I held him, and there was so much love, and it was just unbelievable, the experience of joy. But I did end up saying, I'm kind of glad he prepared me. So it drives home the reality, the absurdity of how much skin pigmentation matters or doesn't matter in our lives. And I share that personal story because that's my subject matter, is how do we get over our fixation on this absurd notion of racial hierarchy? How do we jettison the fundamental undergirding belief in a hierarchy of human value? It has become the infrastructure, the mental infrastructure of our society. Now, this is a special year. This is 400 years since 1619, and it was actually this notion of a hierarchy of human value was actually codified into law right here in the state of Virginia. But actually, it was codified in much deeper ways 400 years before that by the church and led to the decimation and annihilation of indigenous cultures all over the world. So we have this archaic idea. Now, you know, TED is about ideas worth spreading. We need to come to grips with an idea that needs to come to an end. The idea. So the idea of believing that somehow the human family can be divided into a taxonomy of value and worth based on our physical characteristics, it doesn't belong at all in the 21st century, and it began so many centuries ago. I've come to recognize that that idea is kind of like the mental, it's not kind of like, it really is the mental infrastructure of our society. Now, we don't really think about infrastructure. We don't think about the power grid. We don't think about our water systems. We don't think about all those things that become the basis of the design of our society. And this idea of a hierarchy of human value has become the basis of the design of our society. And that's why it's so important that we jettison it, that we get rid of it. And if there are any Star Trek fans in the audience, you know when they jettison something, it is gone. Except Dr. Spock. Now, some have asked, well, how did you come to make this your passion? How did you come to believe that this is such an important work? And I'll share a story with you. I gave birth to my first child many, many decades ago. Her name, Intianu, means noble spirit. And when we took Intianu for her 6-week checkup, the doctors discovered a heart defect. It was called tetralogy of Fallot, and it basically meant that she was a blue baby. She was a brown blue baby, but she was a blue baby. They told us there's nothing we can do for her until she's 5 years old. Take her home, we'll monitor, and when she's 5 years old, we'll be able to operate. What they weren't telling us is that Intianu wouldn't live that long, and she died about 3 weeks later. Now, as you know, a mother, father, we never get over the loss of a child. But my brief time with Intianu catapulted my life's work. I spent the next 30, 40 years learning all that I could learn about how to be healthy, and most importantly, how to help others to be healthy and to live healthy lives. And that journey took me from clinical practice to social program design to public policy work, government reinvention, and ultimately to philanthropy, where I had the privilege of overseeing hundreds of millions of dollars to help create healthy communities. But the one lesson that I learned, and this is what I want to convey and engage you in a commitment to do something about it. The one lesson that I learned is that what we believe, particularly about ourselves and other people, what we believe shapes our decisions and our actions. And as long as we allow the belief in a hierarchy of human value, the mythology, to stand in the way of our innate need to relate to one another equally as human beings, we will continue to have the inequities and the disparities that we have today. It's not enough to deal with the consequences and the symptoms that come from racism. We have to uproot racism itself. Now, human beings, we are wired, especially all mammals, but particularly us, we are wired to innately expect connection and bonding with one another. We are designed innately to care for and to extend caring to one another. And this thing that stands in the way of that has created fear and separation, it actually makes us physically ill. When we do not have positive responses from other human beings, it triggers our stress response. And that stress response happens at a cellular and a molecular and a systemic level. And it makes us more vulnerable to chronic disease. So there's an urgency for us to jettison this false ideology and make way for a new way of thinking. Now, Buckminster Fuller reminds us that change doesn't come by attacking an old model. Change comes when we create new models that make the old models obsolete. The cell phone made the old landline obsolete. Uber is making our former transportation systems obsolete. So we have to create a new model of relating to and with one another. And that model is what I call RX racial healing. I believe it is the prescription for America to figure out how we can learn to relate with and to one another as equal human beings. Now, we have enough science to know how you do this, how you change people's hearts and minds. You do it by intentionally bringing diverse people together who share narratives about their own lives, narratives that are authentic. You listen meaningfully to those narratives and you connect, and your biases begin to fall away. We call these racial healing circles. We call them RX racial healing circles. They are not painful. They are actually stimulating the release of oxytocin, and they help us to recognize that we have so much more in common than we have different. I want to share another story with you about bias. Do we have any HGTV fans in the room? Home and Garden TV, if those of you that don't know. Well, I watch it because they never kill people on that show. But you know, if you watch enough HGTV, what are you going to do? You're going to remodel your house. And if you're going to remodel your house, you're going to create, if it's an old house, you're going to create an open concept. And if you're going to create an open concept, you're going to take a wall down, right? So quickly, I hired contractors. I got 5 estimates. 3 said the wall, you have to know if the wall is load bearing, right? So 3 said the wall was not load bearing. 2 said it was, right? So I got my flashlight, went down the basement, moved the joist from the ceiling, looked up and decided it was not load bearing, so I hired someone who agreed with me. And then it was demolition day. And there they were taking out the cabinet, you know, just like on TV. And the supervisor came by. They were about to take the wall out, and he said, "What are you going to do if it's load bearing?" Well, the lead person said, "It's not load bearing." He said, "What are you going to do if it is?" He says, "We're prepared," right? So I said, "Okay." So I run upstairs to get my suitcase because I'm flying out again. And while I'm upstairs, my house starts to shake, rattle, and roll. It starts to do the Watusi. I run downstairs. All the workmen have run outside. I say, "What have you done to my house?" The workman looks at me and very gently says, "No, ma'am, it's an earthquake." Well, I put my hands on my hips and channeled my Alabama-born mother, and I said, "What kind of fool do you think I am? This is Washington, D.C. We don't have earthquakes." And I called him everything but a child of God. He took it in. He said, no, ma'am, go back inside, turn on your TV. I'm from Guatemala. I know an earthquake, right? So I go back in and I turn on the TV, and there it is, right across the screen, 5.6 earthquake hits the DC area. What are the chances that at the moment... So I had to apologize to him. I share that story because it demonstrates how it is our biases, they surface when we are most anxious, when we are most afraid, when we are most stressed, when a policeman has to make a life and death decision, when a medical doctor is not sure what to do, when a classroom teacher doesn't have control of the class. This is when our innate biases surface. We cannot afford to continue to let that be the pattern, because it's wrong, and also because most of the children in the United States today are children of color. And most of these children are facing obstacles that are specifically related to this racialized infrastructure of our society, this racialized consciousness. So I invite you all to recognize that for the children, for ourselves, it is time to leave that antiquated notion, to recognize that we are one extended human family. Genomic science, anthropology, all kinds of science tells us we actually all trace our lineage back to a common ancestry in Africa. We trace our lineage back to someone called mitochondrial Eve. I'm sure that wasn't her name, but the scientists call her that. So we have a genetic bond, all of us. And this notion, these other ideas that lead to oppression and exclusion, they have no place. So I invite you, particularly Charlottesville, that became a symbol of the resurgence of the absurdity of a hierarchy of human value. Charlottesville, I invite you as a community to be part of the vanguard of those who are healing from racism, who are eliminating that fallacy, and are modeling what it means to care for one another in the ways that we were designed to. Do it for yourselves, and do it for the children who need us.
I think I saw Reverend Holt here. I want to make sure and acknowledge Reverend Holt. Still here? Yeah, thank you. Yes. And he's one of our folks that, is well-versed in educating and assisting folks around trauma. And that's important as far as what we're here to do today, too. And we have some other folks here that we'll mention a little later on. But thank you, Dr. Holt. And I want to go ahead and introduce our next speaker, Dr. Johnny Chavez with Voices of Change. Dr. Chavez.
Good afternoon, everyone. It's a really big honor to be here and be able to facilitate this. But before I begin and we get into the exercises and activities, I'd like to introduce Jackie Ortiz from the Policy Advisor for Mayor Regina Romero to read the proclamation and send a message from the Mayor's office.
Thank you, Dr. Chavez. Thank you, everyone, for being here. I'm super excited to be here on behalf of Mayor Romero. We have pronounced and proclaimed today as Racial Healing Day, and it is my absolute honor and privilege to read out that proclamation to you all today. So, whereas communities across our urban, suburban, rural, and tribal regions are experiencing growing racial divisiveness that threaten the very foundation of our democracy, and whereas racial inequities persist and are enforced by systems and structures that are perpetuated injustice across generations, whereas it is our shared responsibility, as it is for those who came before us, to protect children and foster communities where every child is given the opportunity to succeed, and whereas we acknowledge the urgent need to heal the wounds caused by racial, ethnic, and religious bias, and to work collectively toward building a just and equitable society in which all people could thrive. Whereas every individual deserves the opportunity to learn, grow, and flourish in safe, nurturing environments that respect their dignity and humanity and well-being. And whereas each person has the capacity to make meaningful changes within themselves that can create a profound and lasting impact on society as a whole. And whereas by committing to the principles of truth, racial healing, and transformation, we can foster changes in thought and behavior that move our nation forward as a more unified and compassionate society. And whereas racial healing is a vital commitment that strengthens the educational, social, mental, and overall well-being of our entire community. Now, therefore, I, on behalf of Mayor Regina Romero, Mayor of the City of Tucson, Arizona, do hereby proclaim that the Tuesday following Martin Luther King Jr. Day, also known as the third Tuesday in January, as Racial Healing Day in the City of Tucson. Again, I would like to thank everyone for being here. As we know, racial healing is a journey, and it's a journey that benefits everyone. As being here, I'm reminded a lot of Martin Luther King Jr. and my personal favorite, James Baldwin, and his quote, "It is the innocence that constitutes the crime." It is the innocence that constitutes the crime. It's an interesting quote because it kind of feels like the innocence, the crime, but what he means by that is that it's the willful ignorance to what we see in our lives, to what we see on the news, and what we see happening in our community that only perpetuates the injustice that's happening in Tucson. So completely right. As part of on behalf of the mayor's office and part of City of Tucson, it is our daily commitment to not only recognize and address the racial injustice that's happening, but putting in the work to have these conversations and to make the actual meaningful changes that create a society that benefits all people, regardless of race. So thank you again for being part of this day of racial healing. I'm honored and privileged to have these uncomfortable but necessary conversations, because it is through that discomfort that we create meaningful change. So thank you all.
Awesome. Thank you so very much. All right, you guys get ready to get started? Woo-hoo. All right. Once again, my name is Dr. Johnny G. Chavez. I am Tiwa from Tortugas Pueblo, part of the Ysleta del Sur Nation out in El Paso. And again, I'm the CEO and founder of Voices of Change. One of the things we focus on is helping marginalized populations and members of our community overcome the cycle of addiction, poverty, and incarceration through our education literacy programs. With that, one of the things that we focus on is the helping indigenous communities reconnect with their sacred and spiritual traditions. So we're going to kind of imitate that in somewhat of a fashion. I do apologize because this is such a wonderful problem to have more people than I got chairs. But in the tables, for one, we're going to do mimic what our ancestors did. All of our ancestors at some point participated in this type of gathering. We gathered together in a circle to discuss the problems we were facing. We listened to each other honestly and openly. And we allowed everybody to share their voice so we could understand the problem from every possible perspective so we could come up with a unified solution. So that is what we're doing. We're doing talking circles. In the tables that do have them, there are talking sticks. And if we can go to the next slide, Mr. Victor. Please. I'm sorry. No, you're good. Okay. But there are some rules. And, and this is how we create a safe, loving space to have difficult conversations. And we're going to do it just like our ancestors did. The first one is everybody is equal. There are no titles. There are no positions. We are human. That's what we are. We are not, first of all, white, black, red, yellow. We are human. We are part of the human race, and that's how it begins. Only one person speaks at a time. The person holding the talking stick is the only one that talks. If you have an opinion or would like to butt in, and that's what I say, butt in, don't do it. Everybody should share their thought fully and completely. Once it gets to your turn, then you can say what you need to say. That's how we respect each other. That's how we show love. and that's how we show that we are open to receiving. My brother Bruce provided our prayer to the Creator, to the four directions, to our ancestors, so that we would be open, that our hearts would be open, that our minds would be open, and our ears would hear what we need to hear to heal. Right? Everybody is valuable in the circle. There is no one that is worth more than another. Each one of you is valuable, not only to your family, but to our communities. Another thing, what's shared in the circle should stay in the circle, with some exceptions, because we are going to dialogue as a group. This isn't about saying, oh, this person said this person said that. This is about being open to hear what other people have experienced, what they have seen, and possibly come up with a solution together. So we have to be open in that manner, right? Judgment, ridicule, crosstalk, you violate the sacredness of the circle. The circle is sacred. We don't go to our religious confines, whatever that may be, and ridicule, judge, and that. Some people do. But these circles are sacred. They have value. They have meaning. Everything here has the spirit. It is alive. So we must honor that as humans of this earth. We like to say that everything comes from Mother Earth. Everything in this room, this building, the tablecloths, and everything else once began from a piece of Mother Earth. She has given to us. So we must respect that and honor it. Okay? Any questions about how we should begin? One person at a time. Honor and respect. Allow that individual to complete and go around the room. The first question is very simple. I know we got folks in the back. If you guys want to do little circles.
My name is Pam. And a simple name. Hi everyone. My name is Shelley. And in public school, we did not learn very much about the native populations.
With some garlic bread. Yeah. That's when you're really going in.
Yes, that's good eating right there. Yes. I do know my name means listen, yes.
Back in Chicago, and so the kind of joke was on me. After my mom and my dad split, I was thinking that we should all do that. We're not supposed to be
I relocated from Toronto in the middle of the night.
So the question again, no, the question again.
Welcome. I'm sorry, I'll be I appreciate all of you sharing. My mother is a thing like this, or a talk, some things where all their have heard of that. And that's, well, anyway, that.
We are so grateful for each and every one of you for being here. We are also grateful for our elected officials for being here. I'm so sorry for being in the room. But we are also so very honored to have with us who has just walked into the room. And so we are want to make some space for her. We are graced by the presence of our representative, Adelita Grijalva, who is fighting the good fight, who is standing up for our rights. Actually, she is committed. She is doing what she has said she will do, which is incredible. We don't always get. And so we are grateful for you to take time and to recognize how important this is. And we know that you would be here, and if you could be everywhere, you'd be there. But it means so much, and so we just want to give you an opportunity to say a word or two.
Thank you. Buenas tardes. Good afternoon. It's an honor to be here. I am a very proud board member of the YWCA. Yay. And so I've been hearing about this event. I wish I had more time to stay in these spaces, but I have to tell you, this morning has been filled with such an opportunity of healing. So it's very timely that I'd be here on the National Day of Racial Healing, because if there is a time in America that we needed healing, this is it. This is it. There's so much division right now based on race, based on ethnicity, based on religion, language, and so to have a room full of people that are working towards how do we heal? How do we move forward together? It's incredibly powerful. I spent Martin Luther King's birthday in Minneapolis, Minnesota, with 28 other members of Congress. And we're there to hear firsthand experiences of what is going on in the Twin Cities, specifically related to the presence of ICE. And what we all walked away with is this compelling need to organize and plan. Because we should anticipate that something like that will be coming to our communities, and it is the people in this room that are going to be helping other members get through that. So in the Twin Cities, they trained 20,000 volunteers, handed out 150,000 whistles. And so in any community, if you see the presence of ICE, you'll hear whistles going off all over the place, and people starting to be, and they're trained to be observers of what's happening. What I've been telling people for a number of years is if you have the privilege to stand up for those who cannot, who are fearful of it, you should. That's what Renee Nicole Good was doing. She was using her privilege to put herself in the way and protect other people. So I say with a lot of humility and a lot of concern, please look out for each other. Please take care of each other. Look out for yourself, because we don't want to be in a position where we have a person in our community harmed because they were standing up for somebody. But we understand that it is a privilege and a responsibility to look out for your brothers and sisters. So I think that the work that you're doing here in getting into a space where we can move forward together is so incredibly powerful. And I want to thank you all for being here and taking the time to be part of this amazing community that we have. Muchas gracias.
All right, now it's the money hour. We've had some great discussions leading up to this. And now we're going to start with the third question. This one we're going to do a little bit differently. This is an open group discussion where we all get to hear from each other, not just at our tables. I'll be walking around if somebody would like to provide comment to the question, and I'll give you the mic. So the question is, how do you promote racial unity in your neighborhood? Or how can you? What ideas do you have? All right, here we go. It's okay. There's no wrong answer. That's why we're here.
So only speaking through experience. I live by a motto every day. It's pretty hard, but I'm able to do it. Knowing how to make judgment without being judgmental. Every day, knowing how to make judgment without being judgmental. It's a hard thing to do. We don't know what people go home to every day, so just finding common ground, but knowing how to make judgment without being judgmental.
Thank you. I like that. Anybody else? All right, here we go.
Hi, I'm Rocky. I'm just out. I just promote unity by just being out there, and not being scared. So like right now there's times it is, and times it isn't, but just being out there, and that's promoting it. And that's like being out there, and then if something happens, I'm gonna have to do my part, and that's why we're here, right? So that's promoting.
That's right. Boots on the ground. Love it. Anybody else? How can we fix this? Yes, sir.
Seems to me the first thing is to get to know your neighbors. And probably the best way to do that is to have some kind of community events where people get together, eat food, and get to know each other.
Outstanding, outstanding. Some of us come from that generation. We'd have block parties, right? You remember that? We'd block it all off. Here you go. Yes, sir.
50 years ago, the major feature of a house was the front porch and the front door. Today, the major feature of a house is the garage door. And you see it go up and you see it go down, and you don't see your neighbor. If you want to see your neighbor and you want to find out about your community, open your garage door. Take a step outside, and if you see somebody, say hi. And you'll find that you may meet somebody that's not so different from you.
Absolutely, absolutely. I love that. All right, here we come. All right, I got you next, ma'am. Let me start here.
In line with that, I would say also I'm blessed to have grandchildren and granddaughters. My daughter just moved from an apartment complex into a house a couple of years ago, and that's when we really learned about being a neighbor. It's because when you're in an apartment complex, I see it as being different because there's so many, and you just don't know who you live next to. But when you're on a block and there's houses and there's children, they tend to, even though if you can get them off those phones and off those devices, my daughters, they ride their scooters and bicycles, and that has brought where you can look at your peers and see more in common than uncommon. And I think it works through the children. So if we educate them on being open and accepting, I think it begins to make a difference.
Absolutely. Thank you. Hold on, and then I'll get to you.
My neighbors all know how I feel because I have signs out there to make them feel safe, to make them feel comfortable, to let them know how I feel. Immigration signs, give water signs, environmental signs, political signs, like Adelita's sign was on my fence, So I have quite a few signs. All my neighbors know. Besides when I do canvassing, all my neighbors know how I feel, and I think they feel safe if something were to happen to come to me and, ask for help. So, let people know in your neighborhood how you feel.
Outstanding. Thank you.
I think me and my neighbors, we've solved that for a long time. And where I live, it is diverse. So we exchange food, we run around, we watch each other's homes when somebody goes on vacation. Don't yell it out, just tell me to watch it, right? And it's been good. Well, I've watched babies grow up, and I'm not saying we solved it all, but it's a good neighborhood, and it is diverse.
Outstanding. Anybody?
Hello, you all. I'm with Annie next door, playing music for any of the young people that are here, which is a bunch of you. But I wanted to answer this question. I think becoming known as the neighborhood's best listener, become known as the trusted best listener. I have a neighbor has all the signs and say, Karen, I think it's great. We're cleaning this up, and because they cost us millions of dollars, and And instead of responding emotionally, for me, I'm just listening to him, and then like, you know what, I would love for you to share with me the stats, like your sources for that, because I'm very interested in, in good business. But it's hard, right? Because it triggers our emotions. So becoming a really good listener, and by the way, I got him to nod his head and kind of go, I didn't know, like a weekend later when he couldn't find the proof in the pudding, right? But it took listening. So become known as the best listener in your neighborhood.
Outstanding.
Now, I know this isn't for most of you here. You all drove here probably, but if you want to know Tucson, get on a city bus. It's a humbling experience. It's free. And keep it free, because most of the people who ride the bus have to ride the bus. This is a town of like horses, Everybody would like their own horse, but we got cars. And if you sit at a bus stop, you will see cars go by. They're not carpooling, bull. They are individual drivers, and they're insulated, isolated. So the neighbors that you want to get to know are all over Tucson. We are a diverse community, and they do talk. And if you talk to them, they'll tell you. And as I said, it's very humbling. I try to ride the bus one day a week at least. And just think, you save gas. And you can read a book. There's a lot of good advantages to taking the bus. Thank you.
Outstanding. All right. Anybody else? We still got some time. Yes, sir.
I think that to promote unity, you need to understand that, people are always going through something. Maybe not like necessarily painful in the moment, but when they have an experience, it's something that means something to them. And whenever you can empathize with that, whenever you can show compassion to someone else's pain, I think that's one of the most important aspects you can have as a human being. And I really think that's the core of how we can increase racial unity and making sure that we care for each other.
Outstanding. Very well said from one of our young ones in the community. Here you go, sir.
For me, it's making sure I don't limit what I think a community is or a neighborhood is. You have a community of people you work with. You have a community of people you live with and around. You have a community of people who you service when you're riding the bus or when you just travel around Tucson. The communities that you're with is the one that you want to really work with, identify with, and get them to identify with you. The best way of community, in my opinion, is through the love and the compassion that we show each other, that we give to each other, that we fight for with each other, that we honor each other. That is the community of life and of love and of who we are.
Amen. All right. Anybody else? Oh, here we go.
We've been talking about our physical neighborhoods, where we live, where we work, where we can ride the bus. I want to bring in the online neighborhood because I participate in online a lot with groups that I couldn't visit, like that are international, that care about peace, like combatants for peace out of Israel, out of Palestine, Israel, like Standing Together, another initiative out of Israel, Palestine, and like World Without War, which is largely African, from Mother Africa, and all around the world. So I encourage us to bring our caring and compassion, everything everyone has said, into those areas too, because for some of us, being online is easier than walking around and traveling around. So thank you. Keep on building peace.
Awesome, thank you.
You know, I would like to mention our homeless neighbors, because I think all of us have neighbors or people in our neighborhood who are homeless. And it does not hurt to buy an extra meal and drop off, or a blanket, or a jacket, or just offer some love in any way, because homeless people are our neighbors too.
I have a science background, and one of the things that I talk about whenever I get the opportunity is that from the Constitution, and I do believe that more of our citizens should have copies of the Constitution, read it, think about it, and understand what really our rights are and what this government of ours should be, or was formed to be. And one of the lines here on Thomas Jefferson in the Declaration of Independence, we hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal. I don't know what Thomas Jefferson had in mind when he wrote that line, but because of my science background, I think the equality is that, as far as I understand, we're all created equal in that we all, no matter twins, triplets, or whatever number, sex triplets, or whatever, that we all come from a sperm and an egg. And as far as I'm concerned, the way I interpret that is the equality of humankind. I don't care how that sperm and egg are put together, and there are many different ways that it's done. Sperm and an egg. Now, what happens after that, whether gestation period or after birth, is different. That equity makes it different from the equality. So that's my understanding. Whatever Jefferson had in mind, but that's mine, that we're all equal in the sense that we all come from a sperm and an egg, whether it's multiple sperms, multiple eggs. That makes us all equal. And if you think about that, differences happen. We're all different. Different lives, different experiences, and the whole bit. But if my feeling is when people think of the equality, that we all start off, Africa, in the beginning, we're all equal in that sense of the word. Thank you.
Thank you. What the world needs now is love, sweet love. That's the only thing. One more time. What the world needs now is love, sweet love. Okay, y'all flat on that. What's love got to do with it? Come on. What's love? Come on. What's love got to do with it? What we need, y'all. Yeah, we need some music up in there. But the underlining thing that we're not saying that makes everything possible is the most powerful force in the universe, and that's love. And nothing outside of how we see the power of God works is more powerful than love. We can't bring communities together if we don't talk about that powerful force of love. Love is the key of where it all begins, even to the point. I think a lot of times we spend so much time on differences making us divided. And really, what we fail to realize, you know what makes chicken soup really good? Imagine if it was just all black pepper. Now think about it. If the soup just only had black pepper, what it would taste like. What if your soup only had nothing but white salt? Imagine the taste of that soup. Imagine the yellow color of garlic powder. Oh, I'm going somewhere, y'all. You know what makes chicken soup a beautiful dish? Is all the differences of the spices that knows how to come together. That's what our nation should be. Not the divided states of America, but the United States of America.
Come on. All right, all right. That's what I'm talking about. Thank you, Doc.
And following my brother, you know, my theme song. Okay. Okay, and you know, following my brother, you know, my theme song, when I pass away, I tell my children, you know, that I want this song. Imagine all the people walking life in peace. Okay, that's my song, you know, from the Beatles. Doctor Chávez, ¿dónde anda? Víctor, Víctor. Imagine all the people.
Outstanding. All right, anybody else? Oh, here we go. Brother Bruce.
I think for myself, and I can't speak directly for the indigenous community, but one of the ways that I love to connect is by just being transparent and being transparent and sharing information. Oftentimes an interest is expressed in our community, and those that are interested, I love to share that information. I love to share that experience. I love to share the cuisine of my people. Being able to do that, you know, was something that was how I was raised. And now that we're trying to change the narrative, you know, oftentimes it was preached to what happens in this house stays in this house, changing that narrative to more of inclusion and reminding each other that we're all put in this on this earth for a reason. Mother Earth will take care of us, provided we take care of her.
Aho. Yes.
So the thing coming up for me right now is buy local. Divest from the white supremacy machine and use our dollars to support our neighbors, and buy local from small businesses and folks who are trying to make a living, and stop feeding the machine that's killing us.
Thank you. Oh, we're coming.
All I wanted to say was keep an open mind and an open heart. And so if you don't have that at this moment, then work every day to try and expand yourself. The other thing I like to do is go to different churches and meet different people and learn about different faiths and the cultures that are a part of those.
Thank you very much. I keep running into you.
One thing I want to say, we talk about love. Love is an action word. You can't just say you love somebody and then go away and not do anything. You have to put some feet on the word love, okay? And don't be discriminating about who you love. Put it out there to everybody. Put it out there to everybody. If they hurt you because you love them, pray for them and let them go.
Amen, amen.
And I just wanted to touch a little bit on that love, because love can be shown in multitudes of ways. It doesn't have to be something physical to you. It can be in many different ways, forms, and fashions. So love can go above and beyond, depending on how you look at it and what direction you want to go with it.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Just one more. How many of you all have read out loud the Cornerstone speech? Do you know the Cornerstone speech? Show of hands. It's one of the most important things. This is where we're talking about celebrating Martin Luther King and whatnot. The cornerstone speech is like the opposite of the Gettysburg speech. So do yourselves a favor, please read the cornerstone speech. It's when the southern states made their own constitution. Their announcement of that was the cornerstone speech. Okay? It's called the cornerstone speech. Read it out loud in speech form, not just quietly. It takes about an hour. I've done it with teens across the country. Most people in these circles don't know that. But it's the foundation, the core belief of half our country. So we as practitioners need to understand and have that information. Okay? I'm not going to summarize it because it's powerful enough when you do it. But just be prepared to spend a few days confused and emotional. But it is the cornerstone of half our country. It's called the cornerstone speech. Okay?
Thank you. All right, we got time for one more before we get to the great part and we do the raffle. Ooh, any alibis? Hold on, we'll get to you. We got a little bit of time. Not good.
I don't know if this will make sense, but in my religious tradition, I was taught that love means caring about the spiritual growth of another person. And at first, that didn't make a lot of sense, but if you think about looking around the city at people who are struggling, if you care about their spiritual well-being and their growth, you are loving them, and you will treat them like a human being, not just a whatever. So,
I agree. Thank you. All right, last one.
I just wanted to say, in order to love, I have to have the ability to forgive, and sometimes I don't have it within myself, so I have to ask God to help me forgive. And if it means I have to do it multiple times a day, I do, because the other people, well, I will hurt myself more if I hold on to the resentment or the bitterness or the hurt or whatever. And chances are that person that hurt me, they may or may not even realize they did, or they moved on, and or maybe they don't care less that they did. So just don't let it, your hurt control you.
Thank you. Amen. All right, before we get to the last one, I'd like to just share some stuff and my thoughts on this most important topic. And I'm going to preface this with, I grew up an Army brat. At the age of 3, I went to Germany, came home. I didn't speak English, came home one day speaking German, to the delight of my mother, who told me to speak Spanish, and I told her in German I was. I started school in Germany, military schools. Then went from there to Fort Riley, Kansas, spent 6 years there. Then went to Fort Wainwright, Alaska, spent 3 years there. And then back finally home to Fort Bliss, Texas. And of course, Las Cruces is only about 35, 38 miles away from there. And when I got back, I went into culture shock because I had never seen so many Hispanics in my life. And I'm going, well, I'm one of those. And I had to go, I don't know Spanish anymore. Of course, in schools at that time, English as a second language did not exist. So I lost all my Spanish, lost most of my German, and had to relearn Spanish. But I say that because now I'm going to jump forward. I led a very sheltered upbringing. It was all military. You were OD green. That's the color you were. My best friends were kids. We were military kids, period. There was no white, black, yellow. It wasn't there. When I was in Alaska, there was only 2 Hispanics in the whole school. It was me and a girl, and she was Puerto Rican. And then, for some crazy reason, I decided on a career in corrections. And it wasn't until corrections that I found racism, and racism at its purest, where it's deeply segregated, and everything that functions is based on the color of your skin and where you come from. People that totally have a total disregard for the value of human life. Now, there are good people in there, I know, because I fight for them now. There's people that just didn't have a first chance ever, and they made a bad decision on the worst day of their life. And they need our help and our support. But I say this because one of the programs I started, Voices of Change, was to help those individuals reconnect with their families on the outside. And the last time before I retired, the last 4 classes that I ran here in FCC Tucson at the Federal Correctional Institute, which is a kind of medium, low security facility. It is the only gang-designated dropout yard in the country in the Bureau of Prisons. And I say that because during the time we were coming out of COVID and they didn't have any programming. We couldn't bring volunteers in. We couldn't bring anything in. And they're right back at that now because of the staff shortages. But these individuals were hungry for knowledge. I had white supremacists. I had GDs. I had MS-13s. I had Norteños. I had Mexicana Me, the Texas Mexican Mafia. All of these groups were sitting in the same room. And I created a space for them that was safe and honest. And I allowed them to share like what we did today, to talk about their lives, to talk about their experiences. And what happened was the most amazing thing ever. It broke down the racial barriers. We spent 1 or 2 days talking about how racism is just a social construct, that it's not real. And once they started talking to each other and hearing what each other's stories were, they became friends. I had a GD after a class, and he came and told me that. It says, we were having a discussion, and this white supremacist guy was like, had told his story. And afterwards, that GD went and sought him out and said, look, I want to talk to you more because we have a lot in common. They became friends and started taking care of each other. Our incident rates really kind of dropped. And all of the people in the class were telling them, hey, you need to take that class. I had a waiting list. And when I told them I was going to retire, they wrote a letter to the director telling them that they didn't want me to retire. That it would be a mistake. But I say that because it shows that how when we come together in this type of environment, we come into these circles and we listen. We listen. It's not about talking. It's about hearing what that other person experienced, because you got your opportunity to share. And then we find out we have more in common than we don't. And then it doesn't matter because we're struggling together. We're fighting together. The trauma, the historical trauma and generational trauma, the pain, the suffering, whatever we went through is here. And sometimes we just need somebody to listen. And we go from there. That's, to me, is the key. In the indigenous community, we have the medicine wheel. And the medicine wheel is a tool. It teaches, and it's representative of all the races of man. It has the color white, yellow, red, and black. Representative white, Asian, Native American, indigenous, black. And when you mix those colors together, you get the color brown, which is the same as Mother Earth. Which means we all know this, we come from the earth and we return to the earth. But to heal, we don't have to change our differences. We just have to come together as a whole. And remember that we have that, okay? That's my 2 cents for that. Thank you so very much for the honor to facilitate this program. Please go out, like they said. It's one thing to talk about it, but let's go out and get our boots on the ground, get involved. There's several different agencies here, different things. There's even my flyers are over there. We're actively trying to get folks in and facilitate groups and help people heal. Please, please, please get involved. With that, let's get to the auction. Dr. Holt. And and over here. I'm so sorry.
Hi, everybody. I'm going to bring up CEO, founder, and director of Fresh Start International, DeMonte Holt. He is a reverend pastor here in town. He is a doctor here in town and throughout the country. He does trauma workshops in the prisons, in the school systems, and throughout. And Fresh Start International for the last 10 years, the last 5 years, we've been doing an event at the TCC where we bring the judges out on a Saturday to take their robes off and change people's futures. Me coming from an incarcerated background and being picked up by this gentleman, he has helped me have a future where I am responsible for healing from the traumas that I experienced before ever being incarcerated. And I am thankful beyond measure to him. He's going to explain Fresh Start. My wife and I are going to put the raffle together for you guys, and then we'll start doing it.
All right. Well, how everybody doing? Do me a favor and just look at your neighbor next to them and say, trauma may not be your fault, but it is your responsibility to heal from your trauma. Because if you don't, come on y'all, if you don't heal from your trauma, you will bleed on people that didn't cut you. That's my work pretty much, y'all. I just help people heal for a living. Yeah, so we're here, as Tom eloquently had stated, I'm the founder of Fresh Start International, and we're a little bit different from reentry. We have a strong focus on recidivism and restorative justice, on helping former inmates in prison to rebuild, redevelop their lives by putting on one of the city's largest public health, or what we say public safety events in our city at the TCC. So we have all of our courts, from justice court, city courts, superior courts, county attorney, public defender, meet us at the convention center, and we help people to rebuild their lives, okay? And that's very, very important. And why did I do that? Because I believe the prison system been lying to us far too long. What I mean by that is they need to quit lying to us, telling us that prison is the Department of Corrections. Because my question is, what in the world do you correct? You more of the Department of Punishment than you are the Department of Corrections. And so we do this every October. We have the big events, plus we do smaller clinics quarterly throughout the year in partnership also with the city. Mayor Romero, I remember 5 years ago, I just had a vision. It started at my church. Fresh Start started in the fellowship hall of my church. And then we had COVID. And believe it or not, this is how to let you know how God favored us. I started Fresh Start and said, let me take this bigger than where it should go. So we took it to the convention center, and I didn't have no money. I ain't had no funding. I just went to Mayor Romero, and I told her, I said, this is the vision I want to do, and I just believe it's going to promote public safety. Do you want to help me do it? She said, absolutely, let's go. So a lot of times, I just want to encourage you, if you ever have a vision, don't sit on your vision expecting always a no. Because I came from the hood, so we always had to have a plan B, a plan C, a plan D, elemental P, X, Y, Z, right? But what happens if God bless your plan A? And that's what happens. And so that's why we have Fresh Start today. And then Fresh Start grew from Tucson, and then we had a Fresh Start in Phoenix. And now Fresh Start is going to Fresh Start Chicago. And eventually we're going to have Fresh Start in LA and Baltimore and DC. So the sky is the limit. So thank y'all for allowing Fresh Start to come. And we are a major partner with Amazon. So every month, Amazon chooses nonprofits throughout the region who they want to give some of their inventory to. So I'm proud to do this because, guys, this is some high quality stuff. I saw y'all saying it. Y'all was pointing it out. Yeah, I'm getting that, right? I'm getting that. So, again, Tom has been a great advocate, great coordinator to help me in this great work. And I believe his wife, Diane, is going to play Vanna White today. And so we're excited. So let us put our hands together. God bless you. Let's continue to make change.
folks, this program wouldn't be possible without volunteers from the community. And I'd like to acknowledge the folks who took part in the National Day of Racial Healing Program committee. We had lots of people, but we had formal people who took part in planning today's events. Please stand. Sharon Begot, Muriel Bothwell, Pamela Burris, Janice Christ, Ivana Diavante, Bruce Donahue, Barbara Lewis, Kathy Lind, Kate Meyer, Alan Miller, Leslie Mokaiser, Judge Charles Pyle, Emily Ricketts, Pat Tapke, Janine Russell Sinclair, Donna Prescott, Rachel Simpson, Tommy Chavez. Now, I know some folks stepped out and had to leave, but I do have, if you could please make your way to the front to get your little bouquet of flowers. Okay. Okay, yeah, thank you.
You're so pretty.
Yeah. I also want to acknowledge our presenters today that actually made this day happen too. And we have a little gift of our appreciation. First, Andy Hammonds, Dr. Cherie Meeks, Tom Cortez, Bruce Donahue, Dr. Johnny Chavez. You're welcome. Tom Cortez. Has Tom left already? Fresh start, Tom Cortez. Okay, I want to also have the YWCA CEO say a few words as we conclude.
I just wanted to say that, or offer my deepest gratitude to each and every one of you for being here today. Thank you for showing up, for showing up open-hearted, for your courage and your commitment to healing, because that's what we did a lot of today. So today, for me, it reminded us that racial healing is it's not a moment, but a practice. It lives in our conversations, our choices, our willingness to listen, as we heard earlier, to reflect, and to act intentionally. Here at the YWCA, our mission is to eliminate racism, or part of it. And it's not just aspirational for us, it is essential that we do this work. So I can go on, but mostly I just want to say thank you. Muchísimas gracias for showing up today. Really, really appreciate it.
Thank you all, and most importantly, I want to thank the donors who actually made this important. You know, we get funded through MacArthur Foundation, but also we solicited folks in the community to make donations, and those donations gave us the flexibility to be able to do some of the things we wanted to do. So for next year, also keep in mind, if you can make a donation to the YWCA National Day of Racial Healing, we would appreciate that, and thank you.
I want to thank everyone that was part of the committee that created the National Day for Racial Healing. This program was exceptional. The things that were talked, the things that we conversed, the things that were said was exceptional. It really taught us, for us to think of what we can do as a community and how, love, caring, support, togetherness can lead us to the next step.
I love the sharing. I love hearing other perspectives. I love how organized it was. Wasn't chaotic. I really thought it was an excellent event.
It was such a great event. We met so many great people, heard a lot of great stories, and we got to connect, which is what we love to do the most, connect with people in the community. So I feel like this was a great space where we were all able to come together and just share a part of ourselves. And I hope the Y continues to do this, because it truly is beautiful seeing so many people come together for one cause and love one another.
This event was absolutely amazing. I
was so impressed with all the speakers. I learned so much history about racial healing and the actions that we can take to get through this together when we unite. And, you know, there were some emotions brought up, and I think that's so important to feel your emotions and be aware of everything that's happening and in community.
I think it was excellent. I really thought it was very powerful, the way the people at my table were just so open to making change and expressing some of the things that have, you know, troubled them for some time. I just thought it was a great exercise, and I'll be back again next year.
And I will do it for all right, cool. Very good.